The Southern Baptist Convention, a convention that is convictionally complementarian, has been having issues in regards to women pastors recently. At their most recent convention, they passed an amendment to their statement of faith, the Baptist Faith and Message, that really hammered that home even more. Yet at the same time, they put together a committee to study what it means to be in friendly cooperation, aka to align with that statement of faith. The committee was just announced today, the members of it were, and let's see how that's going so far and check in with one of the members.
And that causes me concern. There was another amendment that was voted upon to the bylaws of the Constitution that says that any church that has female pastors of any kind would be considered no longer in friendly cooperation with the Southern Baptist Convention. Fielder Church falls into that category. We unwaveringly, unequivocally, gratefully have female pastors in this church.
Oh my, I think we might have a few things to talk about. Welcome to the Wokepedia podcast. The Wokepedia podcast is a ministry of enemies within the church. You can visit Enemies Within the Church at, enemieswithinthechurch.com, where you can view the documentary. You can view it digitally, or you can buy it in DVD or Blu-ray form. Blu-ray form does come with extra goodies on it, so yeah, it is nice. But you can get up to speed of what's been going on in the church over the past few years. I know a lot of people have questions. What has been going on? Now, one of the biggest areas that people go, what is going on, is the Southern Baptist Convention. Now, I already primed that a little bit in the intro, but what are we talking about? We're talking about some of the struggles that they've been having when it comes to unity within the Southern Baptist Convention, specifically around the ideas of women pastors. And if you are in the SBC, you're probably going, what in the world was that? And it is kind of right about what he said about that being a member of the committee that's going to be looking into what does it mean to be in friendly cooperation with the SBC? Well, the answer is yes, and we'll look a little bit more at that. But now I should say something. This is not the first time I've tried to record this podcast. I've been having multiple audio and video issues. You might also notice that Sam isn't here. That's because of another recording issue that happened yesterday. So I'm going to be super brief. Now, someone out there is going, yay! Kyle's going to be brief. You have the right to say that. And you have a valid point. We do like to be detailed, but sometimes we can run that a little bit long. So let's set up the situation. What is the situation in the Southern Baptist Convention? Well, again, they are convictionally complementarian, as in they believe that only men can hold the office of pastor. There have been a lot of people chafing against that, or trying to change that, or trying to create a sort of new category within that, to the point where they are addressing it a little bit more formally. They removed several churches, the big one being Saddleback, literally the big one in the SBC. At last count, I think it was still the largest church. Now, the fact that it took until now to kick out Rick Warren is a bit of an indictment in and of itself. But they kicked out some churches, and then they also passed an amendment to their Baptist Faith and Message, their statement of faith, which is the statement that provides unity. Hey, if you want to be Southern Baptist, this is what it means. We're all going to unite around that. You need a point of reference for unity. Denominations are not an evil thing. We all are going to have minor differences within the realm of orthodoxy, and that's an okay thing. But the thing is, you got to have a point of unity. You're going to say, hey, these are going to be my partner churches directly. We are going to be cooperating together. You have to have a degree of unity. So a doctrinal statement is important. But they amended theirs to be clearer, have the language be clearer on this topic. Yet at the same time, a group of former presidents, including the plagiarist Ed Litton and the progressive J.D. Greer, got up and were concerned about the nature of cooperation going forward and things of that, making it very clear that they didn't like that the amendment passed, and they're going to throw their weight around to try and circumvent it. Well, they were successful in getting a committee created, and the members of that committee were just announced. And on that committee is Jason Paredes. And he's the man that you saw in the intro. But before we go any further, let's hear a little bit more from him. This is him addressing his church immediately in the aftermath of the recent annual meeting. Now, he's speaking to the cameras, because there's certain things you don't need to tell your church that he's saying. He's definitely speaking to the camera. But that's actually good, because that gives us clarity on things, because he's trying to communicate to us just as much as he is trying to communicate to his congregation. But let's see what he has to say.
But I want to tell you something that happened this past week. Pastor Gary and his wife Sandy and I were in New Orleans for the Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting with a team of people from the church. And there were just a couple things that happened that concerned me. And the number one thing you're going to hear about that concerns me is disfellowshipping, the removal of Saddleback Church in California from the Southern Baptist Convention. And I want to just say publicly that I am in disagreement with that decision. I voted against that decision. And the autonomy, being independent, the way that we operate, means that there can be a lot of diversity of opinion on minor issues, and we collaborate together and agree upon the major issues. The chief issue being our agreement to come under the Word of God, the Bible as truth. And the problem I have is, right now, this move is to remove churches for Baptist heritage reasons and not for scriptural reasons. And that causes me concern. There was another amendment that was voted upon to the bylaws of the Constitution that says that any church that has female pastors of any kind would be considered no longer in friendly cooperation with the Southern Baptist Convention. Fielder Church falls into that category. We unwaveringly, unequivocally, gratefully have female pastors in this church. And we believe that that decision is scripturally accurate. So let me go ahead and tell you, I've been asking professors, pastors, I've been studying original languages, and I'm growing stronger in my resolve, not weaker, that what we're doing is biblically accurate. But beyond that, pray for the female pastors of our church. No, right now they feel targeted. They're discouraged. They're hurting. If you don't know who they are, look at the staff webpage and you can see their names. Pray for them by name. It is too strong an entity that's sending missionaries all over the world. We have church planners we've sent and teams from our church partnering with the North American Mission Board that this kind of move would affect drastically. We have a seminary right down the road that we love partnering with that this kind of move would affect.
Well, I'm hoping you can see some of the issues there, the issues that are creeping in, because again, it goes a lot further than just simply, we disagree about women pastors. No. Now that, again, in a denomination like the SBC, that's a problem. But there's much more than that. This guy is very much openly admitting to having a desire to deconstruct the SBC, deconstruct what it means to be Baptist, deconstruct any distinctiveness, deconstruct any point of reference for unity. That's shocking. He's appointed to a committee that's all about understanding what it means to be in cooperation with the Southern Baptist Convention. And he's openly saying, I want to tear it down. I want to tear it down. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just kind of slowly go through parts of it. And by slowly, I mean, we're just going to take it section by section. But he starts out with introducing, setting it up. And, he's going, I'm going to bring a couple of things. Now, I cut out, he goes on long periods where he's just trying to manipulate. He's just trying to gaslight people. He's just trying to do all sorts of things, which again, like I said, it's how you know he's not talking to his congregation, because why would they? If they're already on board with him, why would they need to be manipulated? It's because he's talking to the camera. He knows this is going to go out, which, honestly, smart on him knowing that, but let's go with it. First, he sets up that he's against the removal, the disfellowshipping of Saddleback Church. And you might go, oh, okay. That's okay to have someone on the committee that disagrees. In fact, it'd probably be valuable to have that dissenting voice so you can understand the arguments and you could present a more robust response. But that's not why he's there, and that's not even just the issue. He's not just saying he disagrees with that. He's saying he disagrees with the whole situation. Now, he talks about autonomy. Baptists are big on autonomy. He's saying, well, because of that, we can have a lot of diversity of opinion on minor issues, and we collaborate together and agree upon the major issues. That's a fine statement right there. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's going to be how he wields things, because he's trying to get his ideology. He's trying to tear down everything. He says we need to agree on major issues, but he's really going to try and tear down any point of agreement. So he says that the problem he has right now is this move is to remove churches for Baptist heritage reasons and not for scriptural reasons. Oh boy. Okay, let's just think about this. So the reason that this is an issue in the Southern Baptist Convention is because they have a statement of faith, a doctrinal statement, a confession of faith. They have a document that says this is what we believe, this is what we agree to, and this is what it means to be Southern Baptist at its core. We can have a lot of, he's right, they can have a lot of diversity of opinion, but they still have to hold to that. And he's saying, no, that, the Baptist faith message, is Baptist heritage stuff, and it's the Bible that we sit upon, which again is somewhat true, but he's saying, oh, they're going off on this thing. But the whole point of it is, hey, we as Baptists agree that this is what we believe the Bible says on these points of doctrine. So if he doesn't agree with that, if he doesn't think that that lines up with the Bible, then he needs to leave because he doesn't agree with being a Southern Baptist. Again, he's not trying to get an issue changed. He's trying to change what it means to be Southern Baptist. He's a deconstructionist. And obviously he's on the woke end of the spectrum, but that's a whole nother issue. But he talks about the amendment of the Constitution that makes it even clearer. Hey, to be Southern Baptist, we don't agree with women pastors. He then goes on to clarify that his church, Fielder Church, falls into that category of having, well, it's just, what does he say? That we are unwaveringly, unequivocally, gratefully have female pastors in this church. And then round of applause. And then he goes on to, let's just continue. He goes on to say that, oh, I've talked with all these people and studied things, and my resolve is only growing stronger, not weaker. So what he's saying, again, is he's not someone who's kind of not in alignment. He's saying, no, we are boldly, defiantly defying what it means to be Southern Baptist, and we are moving further away from what it means to be Southern Baptist, yet I'm going to help inform what it means to be Southern Baptist. Do you see a problem here? Do you see a problem? Even if you don't, there's a million things you could not agree with in this, and you could still see that the problem is this is deconstruction. This is deconstruction of what it means to be a Southern Baptist. And that's pretty shocking because it's open. Again, he pitted the agreed upon doctrines of the SBC against the Bible, say that there's something separate, and we can just toss that out. Those documents, those statement of faith that we agree upon for basic unity, we can toss that out. But then he also makes it about oppression. Now, again, there's a lot more manipulation in this. But towards the end, he's talking about, pray for our women pastors on staff because they're being essentially they're being oppressed right now. That they're being discouraged. They're hurting. Well, use his own logic. If his own logic is that the SBC has this set of beliefs, I do not agree with this set of beliefs. This set of beliefs is causing pain, it's oppressing my my staff, then I should leave. By his own logic, he's the oppressor. And this is kind of the funny thing about woke people and deconstructionists and all these things. They always are doing the thing that they're blaming someone else for. He's blaming the SBC. He's saying the SBC is oppressing women. The SBC is oppressing, it's the oppressor. We need to overthrow that in a revolution of just tearing down hierarchy. So that's really what it's an attack. Attack on a statement of faith is an attack on hierarchy. But the one more thing with him is he goes on to say that they're partnering with the North American Mission Board and seminary right down the road, which is more than likely, based on location, based on the fact that he is partnered with them, is Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, although he doesn't confirm that, so I won't go too hard on that. But he's saying that, hey, we're partnering with these organizations to do things, and the people that we're cooperating with, whether we're sending people out to plant churches, etc., they're going to be affected by this too. What he's saying there pretty darn clearly is we are helping plant egalitarian churches, and we are helping to train female pastors at our seminary. But this is something that Southern Baptists have been told, no, that's not going on. And if you ever find a case like that, that's just a random incident. That's not a real issue. Now, again, this should be one of those shocking things. It shows that there is this movement internally to try and undermine the Southern Baptist Convention. Now, it's really along the lines of wokeness, of tearing down of the faith, tearing down of what it means, again, cooperation, of just the agreed upon doctrine, all these things. It's shocking. It's blatant. It's in your face. I don't get how this is possible, because it's so not hidden. With most other things that have gone on in the SBC, it's been some degree, even if very, very strained, some degree of plausible deniability. Again, very, very strained at points. This isn't. This is someone throwing up a flag and saying, we are in defiance of the SBC and we're going to tear it down. And that man was put after making these statements. These were not made after he was appointed. No, these were made before he was appointed. Then the president of the SBC, Bart Barber, went out, found this man who was wagging a flag of defiance and saying, I want to tear it down. I don't want you to have a statement of faith. I don't want you to have these things. I want to have a vague appeal to the Bible without any unified consensus of what we're agreeing upon that the Bible is saying. So it really is getting into tax doctrine, it attacks so many things. And Bart Barber said, yeah, thousands of SBC pastors, that's the one I want. That's the one that's going to represent Southern Baptists. It's all just an attempt to tear it down. But that's not the only thing this week. That's not the only thing this week. And that's the truly insane part to me. So while they're getting this guy that's just blatantly, no, I should mention that on that committee, there are other bad actors. There are other, just woke, problematic people. So it's not like there's just one bad apple. If one bad apple spoils the bunch, what does a whole bunch of bad apples do? So it's really problematic. It's really, really problematic. It's attempting to deconstruct the nation's largest Protestant and evangelical denomination, one that has a reach that goes far, far beyond its own size. It's the crown jewel. It's the one that you got to take down if you really want to break the back of Christianity in this country, or at least so the enemy would think. Luckily, it's God at work, not man. His church will persist. That's the advantage that we have. We're on the winning side. Now, that doesn't mean that every day is going to be rosy. But again, this is not the only thing that happened. Over at the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, the ERLC, which you might know from its former head, Russell Moore, a open Democrat who has been just massive, not just in the SBC, but around evangelicalism in this country, of shifting things to a woke progressive direction. And now he's if we're unaware, he's the editor-in-chief of Christianity Today. And he's continuing to do exactly what he's been doing. But that ERLC, which still follows in Russell Moore's footsteps, just appointed a new chairman of the board, who is Pastor Kevin Smith. Now, who is Pastor Kevin Smith, and why is it, again, insane and shocking that this man was put in charge of the board? Now, he's not the president. President is Brent Leatherwood, who is let's be clear, he is a scumbag. No one can do the things that he's done without having that title be applied to him. No one stands, and he is literally going to have a pile of dead babies at his feet when he stands before Christ, because he was instrumental in getting Louisiana's abortion ban, like legitimate ban, before Dobbs too. That big one. He was instrumental in getting that not passed. And he's done other things of similar nature. It's gross. The man is gross. But again, he's the president, but the board chair is now Kevin Smith. Let's read a quote from Kevin Smith. Now, this comes from the 2022 Southern Baptist Convention at a 9 marks, because, of course, all of these guys are just interconnected. All of these woke people are interconnected. But, oh yeah, I can connect 9 marks to the committee we were talking about. Yeah. Jonathan Lehman of 9 marks is on that committee. It's just all interconnected. And that's the kind of the joke of it. These people it's a club. If you're in the club, you get put into high positions. If you're not selected. It's one of the reasons that something seriously drastic has to change if you're going to be able to save the SBC. I don't believe that can happen. That's why I left. I think we're way, way past the point of no return. But let's see what Kevin Smith has to say at this 9 marks event, which was a weird bunch of things that happened in regards to him. But about a question and how do you feel about the state of the SBC from 10 years ago to now? So how's the SBC, changed, good, bad, over the past 10 years? I'd love to know what some white brothers think about this. White, unintelligible. The audio quality of this was horrible, so it's hard to get exactly what he said at every point. You mentioned 10 years as a widow, and I'm less hopeful 10 years later. I think some Southern Baptists lost their minds when a black man was elected president. Not all, but some. Okay, if it's not all but some, name them. Name them. Name them. Otherwise, you are painting with a broad brush, and you're hitting everyone, even if you say not all. And people weren't the primary issue. There's probably some people out there, but the primary issue was his policies, and he was even worse than most people thought. I think some Southern Baptists were unloving to black people beginning in 2012 with the killing of Trayvon Martin. I'm glad he's smart enough to not say murder, because Zimmerman was acquitted and Obama's DOJ couldn't even peg, after 3 years of trying, 3 years of investigating this man, could not peg a hate crime to him. And couldn't get him down for murder, couldn't get him down for a hate crime. So I think that was intentional to say killing, not murder. But let's see what he thinks about that. I don't mean agree about politics or policy. Those are important things. I just mean giving a darn that somebody else is hurting who is supposed to be your brother or sister in Christ. Kevin, unless there's something I don't know, you're not related to Trayvon Martin. Unless you're going for collectivism, which you are, because you're advocating for woke principles and woke ideas, and you're making collective identities based on skin color, which traditionally was called racism. So, and he's saying when he says, I don't mean agree on politics or policy, but that's important because Trayvon Martin wasn't murdered. So why would we mourn with someone who isn't connected to the person who died when it wasn't a murder? Why would we be happy and celebrate with you that Obama got elected president? You should be, if you're a Bible believing, Bible loving Christian, you should be going, oh, this is bad. Because this guy is a problem. His politics and his policies are a problem, and they're going to hurt Christians. They're going to hurt all people. Continuing on, and I think some Southern Baptists just bent over and became political whores with this whole Trump stuff. His language. Yeah. It's funny. Trump can say gross things, and people got upset about that, but he could say this, and that's apparently acceptable. Double standards a little bit. Now, Trump is not a good person. And frankly, when it comes to politics, Trump ain't the guy. Trump is a pragmatist to the nth degree, a classical liberal. He is okay with homosexuality. He is okay with abortion. The only times he's against things is when it furthers his cause. But when it doesn't, well, leave Fauci in his position. Well, flood the American economy with trillions of dollars. Yeah, Trump ain't the guy. But it has nothing to do with what he's saying here. And he's being just as gross as he claims Trump is. And if Black and Aronists like Ralph West feels alienated, and Black and Aronists like John Onwuchekwa feels alienated, and Black and Aronists like Charlie Dates feel alienated, I just wonder if white brothers think that this has been kind of crazy black-white stuff going on. Asian, Hispanic, just people who aren't white feeling like they're tolerated but not really embraced. Because those people, here's three examples, Ralph West, John Onwuchekwa, and Charlie Dates, that preach that white people are evil. They preach critical race theory. They preach systemic racism, systemic oppression, standpoint epistemology. Shall I go down a list of terms that they adhere to? The basics of it are they preach a form of racism, of judging people based on the color of their skin, of segmenting people off based on the color of their skin, of creating collectives based on the color of their skin, and ultimately promoting a Marxist idea. They are woke. So yeah, of course they're not going to feel tolerated because they don't tolerate others. Their whole worldview is that they are not tolerated, that they're not embraced, that at best they're tolerated. But what I find interesting there, he's now going to destroy his whole argumentation, and obviously he doesn't realize it. I'm not talking about me. I've been here 30 years, so I got true friendships. But people in their 20s haven't been here 30 years. What did he just say there? If you want to feel embraced, you build friendships, you build relationships, and that takes time. He doesn't realize that, and that is just very, very sad. But again, this man, he doesn't understand politics, which connects to the whole religious liberty part of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. He doesn't understand ethics either. Because ethically speaking, Obama is a disaster. Ethically speaking, Trayvon Martin wasn't murdered. And there was no, so we shouldn't go out and protest. And he said beginning in 2012. So he's talking about the whole progression of the Black Lives Matter movement. Again, a false narrative. A false narrative. So he doesn't understand ethics. He doesn't understand politics, religious liberty. But now he's the board chair? Do we live in backwards land? I mean, what is going on? And this is so blatant. This is so out there. Now, if that wasn't enough, just the fact that he described, and I think some Southern Baptists, so you have to come alongside me and support my politics, my policies, grieve with me, celebrate with me. But I can look at you and say, you bent over and became political whores with this whole Trump stuff. I can use grotesque sexual language to describe your relationship with Trump, something that I thought these people were upset about Trump doing. Yet, again, someone in the position that he's being put in, the scrutiny he's going to be under, the just stand-up character that's required, that is a no-no. That is a no-no. That's not the guy. That's not the guy to put there. Yet they breeze past that, and then they breeze past all his other nonsense. I mean, again, this whole statement, they should look at this and go, okay, no. No, 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 no. This is, even if they don't want to say woke, they can say, hey, this is not the right guy. The guy is woke, but they put him in there. What is going on in the SBC? This is insane. Absolutely, utterly, stunningly insane. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Not because there aren't more extreme things that have happened in the SBC as of late, but the blatant nature of these two things. Like, there's no plausible deniability. There's no rationale that they can hide behind. Yeah, no, let's just put a guy that doesn't understand ethics or politics in to our high ranking position at our organization that he needs to understand those two things for. And let's put a guy that's trying to openly, admittedly, trying to deconstruct the SBC in a position where he gets to define what it means to be a member of the SBC. I'm sorry, SBC members, your leaders don't care about you. They don't care about you knowing that they don't care about you. This is shocking. But this is not just the SBC. Stuff like this is happening on smaller scales across denominations and organizations, big and small. It's all over the place. And you got to be able to see it. You got to look at it and go, that is wrong. As my dad would always say, sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. Now, one of the big problems is people are giving so much grace that they're trying to that's a little bit, that side's a little bit off shape. So is that really a spade? Like, what does it mean to be a spade? No, you got to look at it and go, hey, that is wrong. Correct it. Because if you love your brother, you're going to correct him. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. That's not Kyle saying that. That's God's word saying that. It's God's opinion. Iron sharpens iron. It's been said multiple places. It's a destructive process. You got to scrape away the rust. You got to scrape away the dullness. If we care about people, we're going to say things that are going to be difficult to hear. The most hateful thing you can do is not say anything. And that's why Wokepedia exists. That's why Enemies Within the Church exists. That's why our soon-to-be-announced next project exists. We just want to see Christ's gospel proclaimed, unadulterated, throughout this country, throughout this world. We want the gospel to be first, but for the gospel to be first, we need to get rid of the garbage. We need to get rid of the garbage. So with all that being said, if you find this useful, if you find this helpful, share it with other people. That's the whole point we're doing this, is to get it into the hands of people that need to hear it. If you have someone that you think needs to hear it, share it with them. You can also comment on this on YouTube, Rumble, even Spotify. Or if not, you can email us at contactwokepedia@gmail.com. We really do want to hear from you, want to interact with you, want to make sure that we're hitting the things that you're curious about, or when we present something new, that we're explaining it in a way you understand. We need that feedback. We want to hear from you, so contact us. But until next time, don't go woke.